friends, welcome back to So Practical, where today we're going to do another practical project. We're going to make some pot holders. I need new pot holders for my kitchen. I've been using my fall pot holders all year. And the last time I made pot holders, they were a little bit big, so I made small ones. The perfect size for my hand. And super cute out of the scraps that I love. So pull a chair up to my cutting table and let's get started. I have chosen to do the log cabin block, and they're just little log cabin blocks. I love them. You can make pot holders out of any block you like. These I used 1-inch strips. I cut them all in 1 inch, and I made the whole thing 6 inches. But any quilt block you like, a square and a square. In another video I showed how to make pot holders, and I just did them stitch and flip style, and I didn't even cut the scraps down. So if they were wonky, I sewed them wonky. And I did get some comments on that. Some not very nice lady told me that she couldn't stand what I made. It was sloppy and she hated it. So here I am straightening these up for you in case you guys feel the same way. It's your choice. And if you are not a quilter but are interested, this is a great fun first quilting project for you to do, because we literally quilted these pot holders, and they're like tiny little quilts. So this is a great project to get your feet wet in the quilting department. And sewing is a very practical homesteading skill to have, to make your own household items. Now, I would much rather make my own than run out and purchase some pot holders from a store. Plus, it's fabric I know I love, and I have other things in this fabric. Quilts, counter quilts, what else have I made? Table runners with those fabrics. So my pot holders will match perfectly. I'm super excited. Plus, I customized them. A, they're exactly the size I want them. B, I didn't put a loop on them. Here's another thing I forgot to mention. I don't like the loop on them, because sometimes if you pick up your pot holder just right and you take your casserole out, if your pot holder is too big or you have the loop, it can dip into your casserole. I don't like that. So a little bit smaller pot holders are great for me. Customize your stuff. Make it you. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is cut all of your strips into 1-inch pieces. I just did 1 inch because I wanted to get as many strip colors in as I could. And then you're going to need a square of your choice, a 1-inch square. Traditionally, it's a red square because the heart of the home is red. That's tradition. Now, you don't have to use red. You can use whatever you want. I'm going to cut a piece of this one for the heart this time. If you remember the last one. The last one, I used this one. So it's completely your choice. I just like these because they're a nice size. I don't like big, huge pot holders that when you go to pick up your pan, you got a casserole, your pot holder dips into your casserole. I don't like that. So this is perfect for me. And this is 6 inches. Oh, so that's the first thing you're going to do. I'm getting ahead of myself. First thing you want to do is pick out the bottom of your pot holder. This is duck cloth. I like duck cloth for the bottom, or canvas, because it is more sturdy, and that's what I have here. I have a lot of duck cloth. I like it. I like it for aprons. I like it for pot holders. So that's the bottom of my pot holder. And then you're going to need to cut a piece of Insul-bright the same size, and it has to be Insul-bright, not batting. Insul-bright has foil inside. It's to help protect your hands against the heat. So you need Insul-bright in particular. Same size. I have them both cut, and then I'm going to make the top the same size. I will make it and then cut it down to, as you can see, this looks a little wonky. When I cut it into a square, I must have turned it just slightly, which is fine. It's my pot holder. And then 1-inch strips to sew in, but if you look at these, they turn out to be obviously smaller. you're losing a 1/4 inch on each side, so you got about 1/2 inch, which I like. I like that look. It gets all those fabrics in there. So 1 inch strips, 1 inch square. I threw that right back in, of course. I'm going to cut in 1 inch square from this. 1 inch square will be the starting piece. This is a super easy project, and it makes a nice cohesive quilt block. Alright, so first thing, we got 1 inch piece. We need, I thought I had a piece I cut. I do. Okay, I'm going to use white to go along this side. We're going to sew these two together, and I don't worry about cutting them the correct size until after I'm done sewing. Put my little guide back on. Again, easiest quilt block you'll ever do. Great for beginners. If you are not a quilter, this is going to be a fun project for you. Once you have that sewed on, will look like this, but we're going to cut the rest of this off. And then we have the starting of our block, this being the center. And then we have white on our first side, so that is that spot right there. And then we can put a white over the top. I don't know why I just tried the back. And then again, you're going to cut that. This is just doing this the scrappy way. You don't have to pre-cut anything this way. I like to do it this way. That way I can just sit with a pile of scraps and my scissors and cut as I go. You can measure everything out perfectly and pre-cut it if you like. Okay, so I have my first round of whites around my heart, the heart of the home. Now comes the fun part, the colors. You can choose whatever color you like. I did that one and that one. So if you made a bunch of pot holders, that would be a great use of scraps. This isn't going to use that many of these. Same rule applies to making a quilt if you want to make quilt blocks. And the nice thing about it is you can make them however the size you want them. Go ahead and cut that off. And then I have my pink. And then I think I'm just going to continue on with that color and do a polka dot. This has a selvage on it, so I'm going to cut that off. So this is a great way to get your feet wet with quilting. If you're interested in it, you want to try your hand at it, make pot holders. This will make a little bit more of a cohesive design than just sewing your scraps down. And I have a video on pot holders like that, and that one I made my pot holders a little too big, so I will link that in the description box for you. And then you can see this is starting to build out. I've got my first line of light whites and then my first line of color. I'm going to go in with more light colors, and I've got a lot of low volumes I'm using. I love low volumes. So we're going to do the second round of white. Also, with your scraps, you can choose. If you don't have white or low volumes, you can use, make this side pink, the other side light green, or green, whatever you want to do. Blues and greens, whatever scraps you have. These scraps are a mixture of new, actually most of these pink ones especially, are a Valentine line that I had left over. How did I do that? Oh, I started it too. Gotta make a quick fix. Now that's crooked. That's okay. Okay, so that color. Now I'm going to use this color. This is left over from the background that I did my spring quilt with. I use this for all the background. It's like an off-white with little green flowers. I love scrap quilting. It's just fun to bring your scraps to the sewing machine and start sewing, making something. You could make a bunch of these blocks, turn them into a bag if you want. Okay, so our second round of whites are done. So this side and this side. Now we turn, and now we're going to do a second line of color. Let's do red. Oh, that's not even cut correctly. There it is. So I'm going to use that one, and no, maybe I'll use this one. I'll use these two. Okay, and I've got a line of red. I'm going to go in with another line of whites or lights. I've got a polka dot white right here with a selvage at the top of there. Actually, maybe I'll save that for the top. And I have got a lot of the important thing with this block is that you stay consistent with your stitching. Like I'm doing all of these at a 1/4 inch. Make sure whatever you choose, you stick with that. If you're doing a scant 1/4 inch, make sure you stay with a scant 1/4 inch. I finger press while I'm sewing these. If you want, you can get up and iron each one each time. It's completely up to you. Just stick with it and it will start to look cohesive after you get a few rows on. And again, it doesn't matter, you don't have to coordinate the colors, they can be completely random, which I think makes a cuter combo. Alright, well, I'm going to use that for the top, this for the bottom, or not the bottom, the side. Rather. Oh no, I think I ran out of bobbin. Almost. One more round on each side and this will be done. Alright, this is just about at 6 on this side. I think maybe a little bit more white. But it is 6 this way, so when I do that I'll have to cut some off. And I have a mixture of white and antique white, so when you look in here you can really see that difference. Okay, this is now at 6. I'm not going to sew any more on because I'll be cutting it all off. You just need to square this up to 6 inches. Actually, I'm going to hit it with an iron first. It's a little bit wonky. It kind of twists a little bit like the other one, which I think is kind of cool. It's a cool look. So we're going to square this up to 6 inches. Oh man, I pulled a lot more scraps out than I needed. You can square it up any old way you like. The important thing is that you do square it up. I probably have a 6-inch perfect square ruler and over in that pile, and I'm just too lazy to look for it. I got the set of new rulers. And yes, I know I don't close my blade every time I turn my block. I'm not going to either. I've had, believe it or not, had people leave comments that I should be closing my blade at every cut. I'm not doing it. I will close it now, but okay. I need to throw this garbage away. So there's my cute little spinny block. There's my back piece, right side down. My Insul-bright. You can glue it. You can pin it. Here's some clear Elmer's glue. This does the trick. You can use fabric glue. This is washable, so oops. My only warn against using Elmer's is if you are doing a really big blanket and you haven't done a great job smoothing it out, and when you go to quilt it, when it's dry and it's hard to pull it back off to get your backing straight. I'm going to hit this with an iron and we're going to go quilt it. They're like decorative tiny quilts. Pot holders are just fun. Plus they make your kitchen happy. Okay, now I'm going to take it back and square it up again because my back got a little bit twisted. No big. It's so small that, and you can cut your back a little bit bigger so that you make sure it stays perfect, but it's so minute that my binding is going to catch it. Then next thing you need to do is figure out what binding you want. Oh, I'm going to just use this. That's why that was there. Because this is what I used for my last one. Is that enough? I may have to sew something else to it. So I'm going to go ahead and re-square this up real quick. I'm going to move my stitch length back down for the binding. And I have got to go find another piece. Okay, it's meant to be scrappy. I have two different, and I'm good with that. I like scrappy. Okay, so when you're putting the binding together, right sides together, we're going to sew diagonally from corner to corner, like the in-between. And I'm just going to use my seam guide tape to keep it straight. And then I like to get all the extras off. And then you have a straight there. This one was already, I'm going to take this to my iron. I'm going to iron this open and then in half. If you want a smaller binding, you can do a 1 3/4 or a 1 1/2, whatever you're comfortable with. I like big bindings and I cannot lie. Okay, so I think I am going to maybe start this one out here. I'm going to turn it over and do it. And you do it just like you would a quilt. Back stitch. I sew off the corner, break it, fold it, off the corner. Okay, so if you are not a quilter, you just kind of sew it on at your 1/4 inch, and then when you get to the bottom, you sew off the corner, pull this straight out this way, fold it back this way, making sure that it lines up perfectly with this edge. And yes, I backstitch there. And then here's the tricky part. I want to sew this corner on first. And then we have left, I forgot to say, just like quilting, we have left a little tail here. What I do is I measure them together. It's so small, but I do this with my quilts too. I measure, okay, that's about, I'll cut it at about a 1/4 inch. And then I take the two ends, fold that, and sew these together. Get my stiletto out for help here, making sure that those two match up. And yes, I missed that corner. Okay, so when you open it, you can push them to one side. I think I'm just going to do that for this, or you can open them up. But it should lay completely flat. Mine wants to bounce up because I didn't press it open. And then, when you are done, we're going to flip this to the front. And you're going to still do your corners like you would. Try to make sure you got a good mitered corner there. I fold as I go. You can pre-fold and clip. in with the corner there. These are a little harder to do because they're smaller. Again, it's your choice how big you want to make it so that you don't cover up your last row. My last row is a little covered. But that's okay. This one I sewed on backward and I meant to do it this way. So mine looks a little smaller on this one. But now I got a couple of custom pot holders with all the fabrics I love. Right there. Alright. Super cute. I love them. I love that big polka dot right there. And I love that they're made with the same fabrics but not in the same order. I think that's fun. And again, you don't have to make log cabin. You can make any block you like. You could just do a square and a square and a square. Or a square and a square. Okay, that's all there is to making fun, cute little pot holders. And if you prefer to have loops in yours so that you can hang your pot holders up, right before you do the binding, make your loop out of a 1-inch piece of fabric. Make sure that you turn the ends in, iron them, and then iron it in half so that you don't have any raw edges sticking out. Make your loop, tuck it into your binding, and sew it in if you like loops on there. I have a couple loops on pot holders that I use and I hate those darn things. But again, your choice. And then you can sew them in the corner or you can do them in the middle. It's completely up to you however you want your pot holders to hang if you like to hang them up. But customize your pot holders exactly the way you want them. Super fun project. It only took me an hour for a pot holder while filming. And the other pot holder took me less than 30 minutes when I didn't film that one. Super fun idea, especially with scraps you absolutely love and you want to look at all the time. I love fabric, and some of these fabrics I just want to look at. Hence the quilts, but again, it's nice to have them in the kitchen as well. It warms up your kitchen, makes it look more like home. You know, like your grandma's kitchen. Anyway, friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and you like videos like these, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out a lot, and I sure do appreciate your support. You can find me on Instagram, You can find me on Instagram at Jeni Gough 18. Jeni Scratch Made Kitchen on Facebook. I do post every project I sew on those two platforms as well. And I don't make a video out of everything I sew, but I do post it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.